Anjani, and I'm currently working as an engineering manager at Hippo Insurance, based out of San Francisco Bay Area. And I'm very excited to host this panel discussion to bust the myths we have around determining the value of quality. Expressing value in software testing is often challenging. More often, different people have different perceptions in determining the value of quality. For some, it's about numbers. For a few, it's about meeting the OKRs. And for some, it's a dashboard with all green tests that matters. Some people think that number of bugs reported determines the value of quality. A few think that number of automated tests determines the value of quality. Some think the number of automated tests passed per release is a factor that determines its value. So, from all of our observations, we feel that the value of quality is often misunderstood, and there is always a disconnect in understanding and determining the significance of quality in the testing space. So, without further ado, let's welcome our panel speakers to demystify this myth and enlighten us. Our first speaker, she has over 20 years of experience in the quality assurance field and resides in Washington, D.C. She is currently the owner of QAStrategy LLC in Frederick, Maryland. Her journey began in customer service, then to quality assurance, and it now incorporates quality improvement compliance for mental health agencies. Regardless of the title, her main goal is to provide continuous improvement with quality and integrity. Let's welcome Anna Ondrish. Hi, Anna.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Likewise. Our next speaker, she has 17 years experience in IT and has been working as a software tester at IBM for the past 8 years based out of Dublin, Ireland. She loves collaborating with various roles to identify risks and find bugs early on in the development process. She believes quality is a whole team responsibility. Also, she's an avid learner and community builder. In her spare time, she loves spending time in her garden. Let's give it up for Sharon O'Boyle. Hi, Sharon.
Hi,
Hello.
everyone. Great to be here, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to an interesting conversation and discussion.
Welcome. Our third speaker for the day, he's a retro ICT and quality assurance professional with 24 years in the ICT industry. He has vast experience in software quality assurance, business analysis, and training. He's the founding member of Pakistan's Software Testers Society and founder of Being Tester Workshops. He also runs his own YouTube channel called The Wrong Room and currently works as a QA manager at Hyper Data Computing and lives in Karachi. Let's welcome Arslan Ali. Hey, Arslan.
Sorry. Okay. Hi, everyone. How are you? My mic was mute actually.
No worries.
So good to be here. I am so excited to be part of this discussion. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Welcome, Arslan. Welcome, everyone. So, I'm super excited to welcome all of you. I think the value of quality in general is often misunderstood, and we feel there is a disconnect in the understanding of its significance in the industry. There are several misconceptions, assumptions, and silos existing in defining the value of quality in organizations. And with this panel discussion, our aim is to break those misconceptions. So, let's get on with our first question. How to make business stakeholders understand or knowledgeable about the value of quality? What are your thoughts?
Ladies first.
Anna, do you want to get started?
I'll jump right in because the first thing I thought when I saw this was, okay, so business stakeholders, right? They can be a lot of different people. So I tend to start within and then work out. And so for me, first, when I saw this, I was like, okay, business stakeholders. So that would be the people that are on the project with me, the business analyst, the project manager, the developers, and anyone else maybe on the leadership or executive team. And, how to make these stakeholders understand the value, right? Well, first of all, we really need a seat at the executive table. We need a seat at the table where the strategic business decisions are made so that we can really truly understand the needs of the business and the client or clients that we serve so that we can better be able to know how to address their need. What is their pain point? What is it that they need, right? We can all say, oh, well, we just want the product to go out and be bug-free and of good quality. Okay, well, I need more information from you at the executive level, at the project level, at a higher level, so that I understand what is your real need. It could be how many people are going to be accessing the site. It could be web accessibility that needs to be a priority. Maybe people with disabilities are going to be using this product at a higher level than anyone else. It might be that this is just a mobile app and not a web-based app. So there's a lot of questions, and really getting a seat at that table is really very important to be able to understand the pain points of the company and the client, and then to be able to talk directly to those.
That's definitely a valid point. Having a seat at the table is definitely critical. Sharon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely agree with everything that you've said, Anna. I can kind of come at it from a different perspective. So when I think of this question, I'm thinking about, well, the most important thing for me is that you have to make them understand that quality is everybody's responsibility. So I think there's a lot of confusion between quality and testing, and people think quality equals testing, or testers are quality assurance, people. So I think we need to understand that there's a difference between testing and quality, and that quality is value to some person who matters at a point in time. And that definition started off with Jerry Weinberg, who said quality is value to some person. And then James Back and Michael Bolton added that matters. And then David Greenlees added at some point in time. So what quality is can change depending on who is assessing it, or from whose perspective you are assessing it. And then it also can depends on the context that you're in, and the context actually changes over time. So quality can change over time as well, and the perception of it. And then you need to, if somebody's opinion matters, then you need to be cognizant of that. But you might have other people have opinions about the quality, but if it doesn't really matter in the context, then you don't need to take that into account as much. So that's one thing. And then understand that testing is not about quality assurance. Michael Bolton has a great article about testing. Testers get out of the quality assurance business. If you confuse the two of those things, then it can actually, make life difficult. So instead of being assurers of quality, we are really a headlights for the project and for the product. We need to actually be able to give information that's valuable to the stakeholders and in a timely manner about the actual state of the project and the product. So it's not testers who will assure quality. You cannot assure the quality of anybody else's work. And if you look at it like this, by the time a feature or a product gets into testing to be tested, it's already been developed as such by the developer. So you need the developer to be conscious about building quality in when they're actually doing the programming. But then they're dependent on the information that they're getting about the requirements, and that's the business analyst that is defining the requirements. And so they need to be conscious of quality and the quality of the requirements. But they're being fed in the requirements from the product owners, and they need to be in contact with the customers and have a deep understanding of what the customers need, and that we are going to be delivering features of value and that are needed at this particular time. So it's making the stakeholders and the business understand that quality is not about testing alone. It's not the responsibility of testers. It's actually a whole team responsibility. And I think that that's important. So that's where the shift left movement is coming in, is where you should be really testing for quality at every stage, starting from requirements, design, development, and all along, right through to the delivery and even into production. So that's kind of my...
That's a very valuable point, Sharon. Thank you. Quality is everyone's responsibility. So Arslan, what are your thoughts?
Yes, Sharon actually said it all, but it's actually making the stakeholder realize, if there's a team involved, if there are testers involved, if there's a concept of quality assurance involved for the delivery of the product, then they should realize, and we also need to make them realize that where the inception occurs. So it depends, it actually depends on them, that if they deem necessary to involve us right from the start of the design board, if they deem necessary to involve us at the time of the database designing, or the first line of code is being written, so they are actually walking us on the assembly line, that this is the product being constructed right now. But there are also some concerns related to the involvement of QA, at what stage the QA should be involved, where it's not a burden on the delivery teams, and where the value is actually given to the delivery teams. Because if you involve them too early in the development life cycles, they may pose a certain weight on the timelines as well, because tester would be then finding out bugs which which can be determined at the level, at the stage where, at a later stage. So don't overthink it, but regarding involvement of the stakeholders, the awareness should be twofolded. It should be coming from them as well. They should also in the realization that QA is necessary, team is necessary. These people are here for some reason. They are the headlights in a mountainous road. So they will identify the loopholes. They will identify the risk areas. But they are not the police. They are friends. They are assisting. We are actually in the quality assistance side, and for the tester side, they should not behave as robots as well. So they have to realize that they have to put in some context around the application which is being developed. They should treat application as a layered cake, which I say the top layer is presenting the actually the all the panache and everything of the application, and the bottom layers are the strongest layer. So they have to see through the applications regarding that, and educating there and thereof the stakeholders involved. Now, stakeholders depends on, they could be business analysts, they could be management side, they could be clients as well, they could be the development team as well. So yes, it's a twofold game.
Makes sense. That's another valid point. It's not only everyone's responsibility, and the communication also goes twofold.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
super critical.
Yeah, I like
Moving
that.
on. Yeah.
I like that you said about the code reviews and the database design reviews, because those are so critical, right? We don't want to come too early to the show, but if we have access to those documents, those areas of opportunity to find issues, right? Over my career, I mean, I have found issues in code review and in database design review that really have helped, and possibly might not have been found later down the road when you're the tester is doing the overall testing of the whole application. Those are really critical points, and very well said.
Yeah, but this needs to be balanced out, because if we are involved too much, that's going to pose a weight on the development team and the delivery timelines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Agree.
Yeah.
I understand, absolutely. And I think, though, as well, it's important to be involved in some of the conversations up front, because actually, even if you're even in listen-only mode, you can actually pick up a lot of golden nuggets about what areas are probably going to be of risk. So you know which areas to focus on. For example, maybe somebody's having a design discussion about the upcoming feature, and you can hear this element of confusion or doubt in a developer's voice or whatever. You know yourself, okay, there's a little bit of confusion or lack of clarity about that, or a bit of doubt. Probably this is an area that where there could be bugs. So I think you can pick up a lot of different keys and little nuggets of information by being involved, even if it's only in listen-only mode, or if you don't have a very strong involvement in the conversation at a point. I definitely think you can pick up a lot. So it's key to get the balance right as to when to get involved, but hopefully early enough that you can pick up those golden nuggets, what I call them.
Absolutely.
True. And I think those are the situations when we get to understand the system even better, because we would run into situations we wouldn't have anticipated if we had waited until a later stage. So definitely valuable to increase your knowledge around the system, for sure.
Yes, having those seats at the table.
Yep. Moving on. The next question is any recommendations to build a quality-driven culture in organizations? I'm sure with all of your experiences, we would love to hear some stories around how you all built the quality-driven culture in your organizations. Any interesting stories to share? Sharon, we want to get started with you.
Yeah, I think it depends on what type of an organization you have and what kind of culture is in the organization already. So it depends on the role that you're in. So from my perspective, I'm a senior software tester, and I think building a quality-driven culture is a lot of the time it comes from the business down and from the management down. So from my role, it's trying to influence up a little bit in terms of what kind of things can be helpful for our team to help us to deliver quality better. If there are issues that are blocking us in our testing, slowing things down, or try to influence the team to put more of a focus on testability, that side of things. So depending on what role you're in, I think you've got more influence, and depending on the culture that you're working in, they're either more open or it's more difficult to actually influence people. So that's my experience.
Thank you. That's helpful. Arslan, do you want to go next?
Yeah.
Your experience around building quality-driven culture.
So I've been to several types of different cultures throughout my careers. What I've seen that the building culture comes with first of all with the team, your own team, the quality assurance team, and the team it's adjacent to. So development, business analyst, uh, and the people who are actually marketing the product. So these four five teams actually work very closely together. So you need to build a structure around your team as well. You need to identify the right talents, who does what and who is good at what, and then you need to assign the proper roles to those individuals, and even brought them up to the lead level, identify the right foot soldiers for the jobs. So that's one impact on the culture. Second one is the product or the projects they are working on. So you need to organize those aspects as well, that which products and which products they are working on. If they don't have the domain experience, you open the doors for the domain experience for them. You arrange proper trainings and everything, so there's a training culture for the products and projects going on. For the project side, you need to have a continuous skill development strategies for you, all available all the time. So this is really helpful for the management, for the company owners, that they see that the quality assurance team is bringing in the change. Next one, which is the layer down, is the reporting structure. The reporting structure is you need to create certain culture that everyone is aware of what's going on with the current running project. What is its pulse? Is it green, yellow, or red? Or what kind of so resources are available? and they all have an idea of the development timelines and everything. So this should come from the quality assurance side as well, somewhat a certain amount of pressure that this has been going on. So that
Makes
creates,
sense.
yeah.
Makes sense. Those are definitely very, very valuable pointers. Anna,
Mhm.
what are your recommendations?
Right, for driving a culture of quality, or build
Quality.
a quality culture. So, over my career, the only time that I didn't have to really think about it was when I worked for the Department of Defense for the United States, which was about 4 or 5 years. When I worked there, quality was on overdrive. So, other than that, most of my other career was where I was typically brought in as the first quality assurance person that they would have at the company, or a very new time frame for quality to be happening at this particular company. So I have spent a lot of time over my career trying to get a culture of quality within a company and within then your quality assurance team. And so one thing that I have had to do, or found that was, useful, was to, one, get that seat at the other tables so that you could hear everyone else's voice about quality, ensure to everyone else that, quality, I want to hear what you have to say about the quality of the product. What is it from, from the business analyst, the developer, the project manager, product, and even the client. I have had companies that I've worked for where I actually had access to the client, and I was able to be on those calls and to help and to answer questions and to gather information about what was driving quality for them. And then one thing that I always tried to build was, when other people, other departments outside of the quality assurance department would find issues with the product based on their view of quality, I would highlight it. I would bring it up at the project meetings. I would give them the credit for it. I would allow them to have space to be able to talk about quality of the application or products that we were working on, so that there was always buy-in. It wasn't always just my voice being heard, but everyone's voice was being able to talk about quality. If I was in a meeting, I would say, hey, business analyst, you mentioned something that you saw. Can you talk about that? And let them have the floor, the quality floor. And it just really would bring this culture of, that we're all in this together when it comes to quality. Like Sharon had said, it's everyone's responsibility. There was definitely that buy-in.
That's such a great example of how you made sure everyone had the opportunity to share their viewpoints around quality. So, which would essentially inculcate that it's just not your responsibility as a quality engineer. So, that's a great example. Thank you for sharing, Anna.
Yeah, thanks.
Moving on.
Just one thing more then as well on
Sure.
the quality from within the team. One way to get a quality mindset within the team is to get other non-testers involved in testing. So, for example, getting the team involved up front, developers and testers together, to define what kind of quality characteristics we want for our feature or our product. And then also during development, just before development, pairing up with the developers to go through, different aspects of the feature. Maybe, for example, you could apply San Francisco Depot heuristics. That comes from the heuristic test strategy by James Back and Michael Bolton. So you looking at the feature from a lot of different angles, so that it gives awareness to the developers and to as to what are the areas that could be of risk for this particular feature. So if you do that up front, it brings the development, the programming is going to be done with all of these risks in mind. You can identify these risks up front. So then there's a consciousness already when the product is being developed So different. You can do different techniques like that, which I found that very useful. For example, yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, bringing in non-testers, that reminds me for a enterprise product company that I've worked on, we actually involved the marketing folks and the sales folks, sales engineers, because they were the ones who were customer facing, and they brought in very interesting scenarios, which we would have probably not thought of, because that's how the actual end user uses. So that's a very valuable point. It's just not, again, going back to the quality is everyone's responsibility. Totally makes sense. Not just related to the engineering teams, but also the sales folks and marketing folks. They bring in a lot of value.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
We also experimented on hiring people from the client side. The way we were implementing the product, we hire people from the client side as testers, and because they were so well aware of the product functionalities, that they put real value in the testing side, and as well communicating to the implementation side as well. So they were real perfect people for our team.
That's great. That's great. And then it just made me think of, we typically wait and do UAT, user acceptance testing, at the very end of the, when we're getting ready to go to production, or sometimes we've already, gone to an alpha release, and I really don't like that. I like to have the user in each sprint, day in and day out. And I've gotten pushback from a lot of developers and project managements, because it does tend to slow things down when people are in there too early. But just having that user perspective, the client knows how they're going to use it.
Focus groups.
Oh,
They're ideal for that.
Yeah. Makes sense. Moving on to the next question. What should be the ideal metric to define value of quality? What should be the ideal metric that we should be using to define the value of quality? Let's start with Arslan this time.
Yeah, so it actually depends on team wise how they are perceiving. For the development side, they want to know how many bugs are open actually. So they need an open and close type of metrics. What I've seen so far, I usually build graphs on those metrics and show trends. So they love to see that, okay, these are the peaks coming in with every release, and this is the current trend, but this is how much load we are currently in, so that they can actually plan their sprints, or plan their releases accordingly. For the implementation sake, the metrics is different. They want to know how much bugs are coming in from the client side, and they are not much interested in the bugs being discovered by the internal teams, rather coming in from the client side. And for the management side, they just want to know the trend, that okay, these features are being developed, these are the amount of bugs being discovered within those features, and these are the completed features, and these are remaining. That's it. So it depends on the team wise. For the quality assurance side, it's usually the load on the team, that how much open defects are coming in from the team side, how much reworks are they getting in, and eventually determining the cost of quality for those reworks. So that rework figure is also very important for the development side as well. So my matrix usually contains these 4 or 5 graphs, and with the trends of the tickets coming in.
Makes sense. You brought up very interesting perspectives, like around bugs from client side versus the internal bugs. Obviously, client side bugs are more critical, and also the amount of effort required to, fix that, or kind of refactoring effort. So
Yeah, the
very
age
interesting
age
pointers.
age is very important. Age analysis.
Ages.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Very interesting pointers. Anna, do you want to go next? Share your thoughts on ideal metrics. I know it's very hard to say which one is ideal, but your version, your perspective.
I'm I'm laughing because, right, the whole reason we're here is because what was said was the value of quality equals the number of bugs found. And I just, that just cannot be, and it never has been, I don't think, for anybody. But what is the ideal metric? Again, it depends on who's asking for the metric, which group wants to know the metric of quality. And so with the bug side of it, when we're talking about the bugs, right, it really does matter what else is going on, right? Data. We need data. That is so critical in software testing, or the quality aspect of the product, at least I think, is the data. Really taking the time to find the data. So for me, when I was QA lead mostly, and sometimes as a manager, but as a QA lead, right? If my manager wanted to know, how many bugs has the QA team found or the testers found, right? I would never tell them, okay, by sprint, these are the bugs that were found, because that's meaningless. It has no context around what was happening. What was being built. We need to know how many lines of code were there. What were we building at the time? How much had already been given to QA? How much of this was rework? And then not only that, but the bugs themselves. And I know I'm probably this is not really defining the value of quality. It's just like debunking the whole, bugs as the metric for quality. But it just really gets me, because so many times in my career, in different companies that I've worked for, it's always the same question. Well, how many bugs are you finding? And okay, I'll give you that answer, but then here's all this other information I'm going to give you too, because you have to have it in context of what's happening at the time within the project. Who are the people? Are the people senior? Are they junior? Are the developers senior, junior? Everyone on the team, how much information does everybody have or know, or can give? It all matters. And it just seems like, nobody wants to go through that analysis portion of it. And one thing now I have found out, doing differently in my career is doing that analysis for the executive team or for the leadership or the project manager. Is before I used to think, well, here's the data, you figure it out. But now, because I have such a passion, like everyone else on this call does, for quality assurance, is that now I actually take the time to do the analysis and break it down for them so that they can see, so defining the value, what is the right metric depends on the data around whatever it is that the group that you're going to give the data to.
So any specific insights you've gained from while analyzing this data when you share it with the leadership team? Anything that you can share?
Yeah, their minds pretty much blow up, because they cannot comprehend or endure the data that they have to think about. They don't want to think about that. They don't have time. We're coming against the deadline. We've got to move forward. And so, if you have an enterprise application and you can, maybe do this over time, with later releases, that's great. If you work on custom software like I have at times, it's very difficult because every client's going to be different. And so how are you going to, have any kind of a baseline and then data moving forward? But I do think that having intact teams that working together, that grow together and learn the product or the processes together, having a mixture of junior and senior people together and keeping the teams together, not having different people coming and going at all points within the life cycle of the application. Really, consistency does matter in gaining momentum to have better quality.
Makes sense. So basically, who's asking for these metrics matters, and we definitely need data. So you brought up a very, very essential point to defining metrics. So makes sense. Thank you, Anna. Sharon, over to you. What are your ideal metrics to define the value of quality?
Well, I think the way I look at this is there's no such thing as ideal metrics. I mean, I think Anna made a really good point there. It's all about the context that you're in, and it depends on what you want to track and what you want to improve. So, for example, if you have a product, that's a single platform and there's multiple applications, contributing to that product, and there's a mix of different levels of quality from the different applications, for example. Maybe you might want to measure, well, what kind of bugs are escaping out to the customers. But it's not, and which of the applications have more issues than others, because maybe you want to focus your quality efforts on one area to get that up. Identify where are the areas that we need to actually focus on to get quality improved. But I mean, and again, numbers of bugs doesn't tell you anything. I mean, if you have 100 bugs and they're all minor or cosmetic, that's completely different to 3 critical bugs that crash the application. So counting the bugs won't help. Of course, if you see 100 bugs that are reported by customers, even if they're moderate or minor, it could be like death by 1,000 cuts. It just gives an overall perception of poor quality, even if they're not critical issues. So you have to look at the severity of them. You have to look at them into more detail, as Anna said. You can't just go by the numbers, and it depends on what you want to focus your efforts on, and what information that you're looking from. And I think that depends completely on the context, what type of product, what kind of customers you have, and what you're trying to deliver at the time.
Makes sense. Depending on the kind of product and the kind of customers, those are, again, another very important aspect to delivering the product. Of course, quality defines. Quality is a critical factor. And that reminds me, Reid Huffman made a statement around, if you waited too long to perfect your product before releasing it, you're probably late. And that goes back to during some of my experiences at startups where scaling quality efforts was one of the key metric we had, because being able to release features early on to the customer is what mattered, because half the time, lack of resources, and we have a lot of time crunch before releasing that feature. Otherwise, there's a competitor who's waiting to go ahead and release that feature immediately. So one of the metrics we tracked was how quickly can we scale our quality efforts so that we can release the features early on to the customer. And for that, we broke it down further to making sure we had automation in place, and we realized otherwise it's not going to help. So it's very interesting to hear all your perspectives as well. So thank you for sharing. Moving on to the next question. How can we determine the value of quality brought by automated tests? That's another interesting area. How can we determine the value of quality brought up by automated tests? So, Anna, do you want to take a stab at it?
Oh, the automation. The automation. Yes. Oh, I have so much to say. So, so I do believe in automation. It is necessary. We need to have it. I like to take a methodical approach to things, and I know that quality can be within the quality assurance team. It can be its own group of people outside of the quality assurance team, or it can be in the developers, with the developers. I've worked in all 3 of those areas. And I'm fine, really, with any one of those 3 areas. But what I do like, or what I think is essential, is one is that the code needs to be stable before it is automated. We don't automate everything. It's not possible, just like we can't test everything. it's important for someone within the quality assurance team that's working on that project or product to be part of the automation, defining the tests that are going to be written and then executed. And then I really feel strongly that the results from the automation tests, the frequency that they're run, and then the results that are found are reviewed by someone within the quality assurance team, not the automation, the person that wrote this script. Just like we don't have developers that write code and then test their own code, because they're only going to see what they want to see in, through their lens. I think it's really important that someone from the quality assurance team that's working on that same project or product reviews the results from the automation tests, because if you continue to get, you might continue to get a positive or a negative. You want a negative. You don't want there to be a problem when the tests are run. But the tester might realize that something has changed and that test really should have failed, and it didn't. And so there's a bigger understanding, a broader view of the product, and not just looking at that one automation test. I think it's valuable. Automation is valuable. It's needed. I don't believe it's everything. I think that you still need people that are going to be able to manually review user stories, requirements, UI, and have a full understanding of going through the product and not leaving it completely onto automation.
Makes sense, because obviously achieving 100% automation is definitely not ideal, and that shouldn't be the goal that people work towards. So definitely a good point. Sharon, do you want to go next about how do we determine the value of quality brought up by automated tests?
Yeah, I think you need to look at what you're actually automating. Are you automating the happy path? Are you automating the critical flows, user flows through the system? Are you automating the high risk areas? Are you automating the areas that are time consuming for testers so that they're freed up to actually do some exploratory testing and do more valuable testing? So that's the sort of way I look at it. And also, are they reliable? If they're not reliable, then how can people have confidence in the automation? And also, a lot of time and energy is sucked up by engineers having to investigate every single one of those unstable tests, and a lot of time and money is wasted there, can be wasted there. And you've got to weigh up the benefit of automating something versus actually doing it manually. Would the effort to automate it far outweigh the cost of actually doing something using a human, a person? I don't like to say manually, because we all know about that debate. And yeah, so I think you need to understand what is your goal, what is the problem you're trying to solve with the automation. Are you able to give fast feedback is another very important aspect, so that in terms of regressions, that developers can be confident that they haven't broken anything existing in the feature, or in the product. But getting back to what Anna said as well, I completely agree. Automation is not the silver bullet. You don't want to overemphasize on automated checks, because automation only covers the known risks. They only cover what you know about. But there's a lot of hidden risks there, and new information that needs to be investigated. And the only way that can be done is through human beings exploring the product and looking and in a structured and organized way for new risks. That's it.
You brought up very interesting pointers around, the goal of automation. I think that is very, very critical, because there are teams where people just run into, we want to automate everything because that's the hardest thing in the industry. Everybody automates versus trying to understand the cost of automation versus actually the time spent by testers to manually test them. So that is a very, very critical pointer. Thank you so much, Sharon. Arsalan, how do you determine the value of quality brought up by automation?
So it the concept was there since the beginning that testers who actually test something, they tend to write scripts around it, and they ease their job. So now we have tools doing that for us now. A much easier tool to understand and learn. We have keyword driven programming and everything. But then the ball game changed when DevOps was introduced. So DevOps actually has introduced a concept that everyone on the team should be able to do some sort of automation. They around their tool belt, there has to be an automated or there has to be there has to be an awareness to that to the automation side. So that actually changed the ball game. Now we need to understand, yes, we need to understand that without manual test, without manual team going around and sniffing around the application, automation team cannot actually write those scripts. So this is where the test team smartness comes along, the common sense comes along, that they need to create a balance between writing manual test, between going in depth of the manual test, and then determining what to automate now, so as the delivery lines can work smartly, so as the CI and CD portion can work. So they have to determine that. Now what in my opinion, what automation does is let you work smartly. It cuts down the time of 100 tests being run by manually, and you can now run them in just 20-30 minutes time. It also encapsulate the application framework in a tester's perspective. So they have their own framework alongside the development framework, that this is how application should work, this is how it should be tested and then delivered to the client. And uh, and, and that's it. That's the balance we need to actually now teach the youngsters, the new generation that's coming along, because automation has now become a part of the culture. Now everyone should be aware of it, at least to a certain extent, because this is how application are being delivered now. It's not like the previous time that if we want to automate, we wish to learn tool, then we are going to learn tool. It's not like that. If you don't know about the programming concepts or writing a script, and if you don't know about how code works, then the value in your own team becomes low. That's my point of view.
Good. I think it is becoming, automation is definitely becoming part of the culture,
Yes,
and
yes.
it does help people work smarter for sure. And you also brought up a good point around, the QA engineers determining what to automate so that they can work smarter. So totally makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to make a point there on that, I just caution on, you you can learn the automation skills, but if you don't understand testing and how to test properly, and coming up with good test design, and understanding how to get that sort of value, you can automate whatever you want, but it's not necessarily going to give you value. So
Yes.
being, just taking that, having that caution there, that okay, automate, but automate wisely, and understand what it is you're trying to, you understand what is good test design, and how to automate the right thing. So as I say, if you use the tool, a tool will emphasize what you're doing, and if you're doing bad testing with the tool, it's going to be very bad automation.
Yes, yes,
You
exactly.
have to be sure that the quality of your testing is embedded into that automation.
No,
Yeah.
that's a very good point. Yeah, go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, both of you just really hit it. And what I was thinking was how when you look for software tester positions online, let's just say with Indeed or wherever, always automation, you have to know automation, right? It has to be part of your toolkit of understanding. But the job descriptions also are very heavily on you're going to write test cases, you're going to execute, you're going to review user stories or requirements. So it's really balancing both sides of it, especially because also automation, right? You can go in so many different directions.
Yes.
What framework are they using, right? And so to both of your points, like having that understanding of the automation with a strong just overall ability to be a tester and understand quality is what I think is going to bring it together. But getting through those job application queries to get to the manager to be able to tell them that you understand it both, that's where it becomes a challenge.
I was just going to add one last thing to what Sharon previously said. What to automate actually matters. And that reminded me of a scenario where one of our teams were focusing on trying to automate the whole two-factor authorization process, where they tried calling the email API and tried to get hold of the code. And they were going down a rabbit hole. Instead, they could have just let it be manually tested. And they realized it after spending like a week. And it just goes back to, figuring out where to invest automation skills versus where to just let it go and say, this is better off being manually tested. So,
Yes, they should not forget the mix of humans with the
yes.
tools, and that balance. They should smartly sell themselves and smartly work. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, Moving on to our next question. What is the optimal level of software quality for product launch? Before you do a product launch, what's the optimal level of software quality that's expected? Um, Arslan, do you want to take a stab at it?
Oh my God. Okay. So if you
I think
asking,
what they're trying to ask is probably like specific parameters that you would look
yeah,
for
yeah.
before you decide that the product is good to be launched.
So that actually does not depend on the on actually testing team. The testing team is there to identify the risk areas and the loopholes. There will always be the known bugs. So one thing, to determine the quality, you need to have there's a heuristic for it. Actually, I always go for it. It's called San Francisco Depot structure, function, data, platform, interfaces, operation, and time. So if your product is tested on SFDIPOT in accordance, and you can see that the structure is there, you can see the interfaces are working fine, you can see there are functions that are responding accordingly, there are operation and time factor, everything is working as per the perceived quality, as per the design boards to a certain extent. You can say that the product is ready to deliver. But for a testing team, this is very critical, that we are not the decision maker to stop the product from being delivered or from being marketed. It's actually the management's responsibility. It's actually the other stakeholders' responsibility, who is going to determine this in line with your findings, in line with the testing team findings. So your definition of done may be different from the definition of done of other teams. So if you say that there is a red flag over here and the management say no, we need to deliver this, so they might ignore your red flag at that time. So it's highly contextual regarding this, that what should be the perceived quality. For this we have the heuristics, and we usually apply those heuristics and determine if it's in accordance with our findings, and that's it. It's
I
very
think,
contextual.
did you have a specific heuristics around, let's say, the number of P0 bugs that are still open, that shouldn't be open before you release a product? Maybe I think those are the kind of factors I think this person is looking for, to
I mean,
narrow down and say,
I was advised by Michael Bolton on this thing. He said to me, if there is a rocket launch going on, and you said that there is some problem and you discovered a bug over there, whose responsibility it is to now stop the launch? It's not yours. It's their decisions actually. There's a reference in Apollo 13 movie as well. So once they were entering the atmosphere of the Earth, the angle was too shallow, and he said, well, what's going to happen now, because they don't have moon rocks with them. They returned too early. So that should I tell the team over there in Apollo 13? He said, why should they worry about? They are worried about getting inside the Earth atmosphere. So that's the thing. It's the right time and the instance at which you need to identify the bug, and it's not your decision. That's my point.
got it. Okay, wise words. Thank you. Thank you, Arslan.
Welcome.
Sharon, do you want to go? Do you want to take a stab at this? What is the optimal level of quality for a product to be launched before a product is launched, basically?
Yeah, no, I agree with Arslan in terms of it's not up to testers to decide whether a product is ready or not. And, you can provide all the information to the stakeholders on what is the actual state of the product and the project. And it's up to them then to make the decision whether they want to ship or not. I think it also depends on the context, and it depends on what you're trying to deliver. If you're delivering an MVP as a beta to different customers just to get some fast feedback from them, maybe the level of quality will be completely different to if you're trying to launch this, new product and make a huge impact on people, and it's mission critical, or there's health and safety, impacts of the quality of the product. So it all depends on the context. I think definitely testers should not be in the position where they're deciding whether or not software is ready for to be shipped. It's a business decision at the end of the day, and what we can do is just provide as good an information as we can as to what the actual status of the product is, and let them make the decisions.
Sounds good. Anna, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you both have said. I'm not going to belabor the point because I'm sure yourselves, like myself, I have had products I've worked on, and I was pretty adamant that we probably should not go live. And, we went live anyways. There were times when I wasn't even asked, should we go live? And the product went live anyways. And then I found out. For me, it's like Sharon said, and Arslan as well, just give them the data. Look, this is how many bugs we have. These are the severities. This is, where we're at, and together we can make the decision. And, we will all, I think every product, right? As soon as it launches, everybody is the next 3 to 4 days, everybody's just looking at the application, getting that client feedback, fixing things and putting them, hot fixes into production. So, I think my answer would be, and I've learned this over time, is just breathe throughout the whole thing. Don't take it so personally, because I used to do this. I used to take everything personally, and I had to learn that, wait, this is bigger than me. And there are people that are smarter than me that are on this project. And together we're going to make this decision, and it doesn't all fall on my shoulders. And it's okay. It is okay. It will all work out.
So to answer this question, I think everybody is in agreement that we can provide the data to the management team, and at the end of the day, they understand the risk. And if they just go ahead and still release, our responsibility is to share the data. So thank you for the wise words. And I think we're going to take one last question. We're almost out of time, but we're going to take one last question. How testers can bring awareness on the value of quality and actions to be taken? How testers can bring awareness to the team with regard to the value of quality and what actions can be taken to do that?
I think we have just answered that, right?
I think so. Yeah. I think we've answered it in different ways, but yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. Any additional points to add from anyone?
I think for me, the only thing that I would add from reading it written this way is to be educated. Just continue to educate yourself as a quality assurance analyst, as a software tester. You know, really, whatever your title is, continue to educate yourself. And, you know, there's not a whole lot of education in quality assurance, but there is in automation, the different frameworks, the different, you know, even, you know, being a developer, learning about coding, about being a business analyst, UX, project management. It's, you know, it will all come together and help you within your own position in quality assurance.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I also think that it's good to, you know, this is where the testing communities come into play, and conferences and even panel discussions like this. You know, it's connecting with the community outside of your own business, outside of your own company. You get a different perspective, and you get to understand how different people apply, you know, different techniques in their own contexts. And what's really good is just to try to, you know, widen your perspective by going out to conferences, connecting with different communities, you know, meeting different people and having conversations about these things, keeping an open mind. You know, we're not always right. And also what might be good for us in our context may not work for another person in their context, and vice versa. But having these conversations really helps you to open your mind up to different possibilities. And by the way, by making friends with people, you know, that are like-minded and are interested in quality and interested in, you know, being making a good contribution in your own role, you know, you can have these sort of conversations and say, look, I have this problem at the moment. Have you ever come across this? And learn from each other. I think it's great, and I think it's been fantastic in the last couple of years, especially. As we said at the early on before the discussion, you know, this whole new ability to connect across different continents and across so many different contexts and experiences is fantastic. So I definitely encourage people to get out there outside of your own narrow, we say, focus in your own company, and learn from others that way.
That's a very good point, Sharon. I think every time I presented at a conference, I felt like I was reflecting a lot on what I had worked on and how I can actually improve. And those were moments of reflection. Definitely got a lot of insights from that. So I highly encourage folks to think about presenting at conferences, whether you end up sharing, whether you end up learning from others or not. I'm sure you'll end up reflecting a lot on how you're doing things and how you can improve upon that. And with that, I hope this panel discussion helped to bust the myths around value of quality being determined by the number of bugs, and hope you all got some great insights. Thank you so much to all of our speakers for tuning in on a weekend at different time zones. Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure chatting with you all. Thank you.
It's been great. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Bye.